Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. So, today we wanted to talk all about maintaining friendships, especially in your 20s, because I think we have touched on this topic a little bit previously, but I think when it comes to your 20s, especially even if you've had like friendships before that you've carried into your 20s, like in your teenagers or even in your school years, or whether you're just starting to make friends in your 20s itself, there are so many factors that come into play when you're trying to maintain friendships in particular, especially when your life is so busy and you're starting full-time work and you've got a million and one responsibilities. Maybe you've even got married, started a family. It's that period of time where so much else takes all your time and effort. So we want to talk about how do you actually maintain friendships in a healthy way at this stage of life and all the things that come with it. So let's start with you, Dev. How have you found so far maintaining the friendship that you already have to begin with? And then we'll talk a little bit about actually making friends in your 20s, because that's a whole other ball game, I think.
Yeah, definitely whole different ball game. But I think for me, it's been really hard to maintain friendships in my 20s because I feel like I fall into the category of people where I don't have that like same tight-knit friendship group or like the same friends from like primary school that I've got and I stay in contact with up until now. Because I did like a little very casual survey amongst my friends. This is what, I said the word survey and it made it sound way too formal, but a survey is in like, I just asked like everyone, how do you stay in touch with everyone? Like, do you not struggle with this? Like, do you not feel like it's really hard to maintain like a million individual chats and not feel like you're ghosting everyone at the same time? And a lot of the answers I got were, oh no, it's super easy because there's one group chat that has everyone I want to stay in touch with. And I thought to myself, well, that's impossible because all of my friends are from very different like points in my life. And also because they're from different points in my life, they're like, my friends are all over the country. Some are halfway across the world. Like, it's very difficult to have everyone in one place and also at one time for me to check in with and like stay in touch with. So I feel like me applying my typical like organization to everything, what I'm trying right now is to like make it a point to go through my WhatsApps, go through my messages and actually respond to people rather than like leaving things on read or like thinking, oh, I'll do this when I'm less busy or I'll check in with people when I have the time, because that is what has previously led me to like just never get back to people. And I don't like that feeling. Even though I think we've said before in like previous episodes, we're both like very low maintenance friends. So like I'm not expecting people to FaceTime. I would die if I had to FaceTime everyone. Like that was too much. But yeah, I'm like super low maintenance. So it's actually just, it's easy for me to actually just like low key keep in touch with people. But something else I think we're sleeping on is the way that men keep in touch with their friends. Because I feel like Sam, my boyfriend, he has got his like the way that he keeps in touch with all of his friends on lock, and he also keeps in touch with them in such a nice like endearing way. Like he sends memes, he tags people and things. He has like ongoing WhatsApps with everyone he knows that it's just a never ending conversation. Like you don't have to reply there and then, but then when you do, it just keeps going. And also football, I think, is just a really nice thing that just connects them, which is really annoying because A, I'll never have that. B, I don't want it either. So it's fine. But it's very like low touch, but very meaningful at the same time. Like I feel like sending a meme or like tagging someone in a meme is such a nice way of being like, haha, thought of you today. Whether it's a funny meme or a meaningful meme or something that like resonates with something they're going through maybe. And I feel like we sleep on that because that can really like, especially if it makes someone laugh, but you don't have to physically do much to do that. It's quite nice. So I'm trying to embody that a bit more. But honestly, they're all just like strategies that I'm trying to like implement to try and maintain my friendships in my 20s. And I don't have the results yet to tell you which ones are definitely working and which ones are not. But they're definitely better than before, where I used to just ghost everyone.
Yeah, I think anything's better than that.
Yeah, literally. But what about you? What are you doing to resolve this absolute mess?
So, yeah, I think the mess comes from just like not being physically able to have those regular touch points with your friends, though, in this era of life. Because when you are younger, your friends are typically your school friends, and they're people that you see day in, day out. So you're kind of forced into this routine of being with your friends and having to find something to do with your friends because you're literally with each other all the time. Whereas what I found difficult in like our adulthood is us all having such separate lives and having to try and mesh them at some point in the month or however regular you can do that. So when everyone has a full-time job on a different schedule, when like I have friends that have kids now, and it's like I would love to just like pick up the phone to you, maybe if we're not meeting regularly. But then I'm thinking, oh, but she's got kids that she's probably dealing with right now. Like, I don't want to interrupt, or I don't want to like be like a bother in that situation. Like, I don't know what she's got going on during the day, but I that's the kind of thing I struggle with. It's like, well, do I just like make that touch point anyway and maybe hope that she has a few minutes spare to have a quick catch up little conversation, you know? Or should I just wait till the next time I see her in 3 months' time? Like, sometimes I don't know what the best thing is to do, but I'm very similar to you in that I'm very low maintenance friend myself. Like, I do not expect my friends to check in with me every single day. I don't have like very regular touch points with all of my friends. And that is also by default of us all being very much equally like that. Like my friends are also low maintenance, so they wouldn't expect that from me either. And I think that's probably why it works so well in our dynamic. Like no one feels offended if someone hasn't checked in. No one feels like, oh, are we not friends anymore because we haven't spoken in the last few weeks. We all know we've got stuff going on and a lot to do. So I feel like that really helps. And I've never felt like just because I haven't spoken to someone in a certain period of time that suddenly I'm not friends with them. That's not how my mind works, but I know some people do think like that. So I think it does just depend on how your own style of like keeping communication with people and how you feel secure in your relationship with someone and your friendship as to how, I don't know, often you need to see them or often you need to speak to them. But I like what you mentioned about the memes because I definitely do that to my friends a lot. Is if I know that I haven't like spoken to them in a long time and I do want to just be like, I still remember you and I still like think about you. Though if even if something random just pops up on my For You page and it makes me genuinely think of them, I will send it to them. And I do that often and like it'll be reciprocated. So there's definitely ways like that you mentioned that are ways of keeping in touch with people without necessarily having this massive catch up. Because what I got into the habit of doing, I guess it had kind of happened naturally because of how big the gaps were between when I was meeting my friends. Is when we did meet each other, it would just be this massive catch up and, you know, relay all this information of like what had happened in our lives in the past few weeks and like what's been going on and just this like massive dump of information at that point we met. And I've read or I've listened to TikToks about this in the last like months or so about how there's certain people that have noticed that that's happened, that's like a recurring pattern in their own friendships, but they don't want friends that they just catch up with just to catch up on what's already happened. They want friends that they live through life with. And I really recognize that difference, and that really made me think as well a lot about how sometimes I've gotten into the habit of not living my life with my friends, but I'm just catching them up on stuff that's already happened. And it's just become this cycle of, oh, we don't see each other. We don't really know what's going on in each other's lives because we don't have those regular touch points. So when we do meet up, we just have so much to say to each other, but that's like stuff that's already happened kind of thing. So there's been certain situations where like me and my friends have thought about like things like memories that we could actually make together and like things that we'll do together because we are like creating those memories and living our lives together rather than just always talking about the stuff that we've got going on outside our friendship, if that makes sense. So I feel like that helps a lot. And just being maybe more intentional with your time with your friends. I feel like in your 20s as well, especially like when you're working and you've got all these other dreams and goals and things that you're focusing on, and your whole entire life, that like whatever vision you have for yourself, when that's such a huge focus for you, when you then do spend time with your friends, I feel like unless you're being intentional about it, you sometimes there can be a disconnect if they're people that you don't see regularly, like long distance friends even. Like sometimes this doesn't even just go as far as friends. Like I have long distance family members as well, like family that live really far away, and I kind of get into that habit and routine of just catching them up on life too, and not really living life with them because they're so far away that I don't see them very often. So it works the same way in so many different relationships, that if you don't have that proximity and they're not constantly someone that, I don't know, you can just run errands with because they're close enough that you know what their schedule is and you know that they'd be free, so you just go and do life with them like on a regular basis. Because I know people live their lives like that, like in terms of their friendships. They have friends that just go and run errands with them. They have friends that, I don't know, they just randomly go out to eat with them, even like takeouts or just random stuff that they'll do as part of their week routine and things like that. But I don't really have anything like that because a lot of my friends are also married at this point as well. So everyone's got those responsibilities as well as work in the morning. And then like when you add kids on top, it becomes an impossible task. But what I've just started doing more of is just being more intentional with the time I spend with my friends, in terms of like us doing an activity together or like figuring out something fun we can do and like making memories, and also still trying to keep in touch with each other, like even just giving them a quick phone call, even if we haven't made like specific plans to meet and do stuff together. Just finding excuses, like random ad hoc excuses to like keep that contact and just like loop in with each other without necessarily having to wait until this big like scheduled date that we have in our calendar and that's when we're going to meet, until next time as well. But do you have any friends that you've known for like since primary school or like high school age, and people that you've known for years that your relationship has like changed over time?
Yeah, definitely. Like I have a handful of friends from like school. So like, GCSEs and A levels. Primary school, like there's actually a couple of, when I say a couple, or like there's one girl that I used to be like best friends with. And I think like years ago, we used to email back and forth when I left, because I went to school in Ireland. When I left Ireland, we used to like
cute.
email. Yeah, it's quite cute actually. And I think of her sometimes because I'm like, I wonder what she's doing. Like, you know what I mean? Like you just like wonder what they're up to. And that obviously that's like different because I left Ireland and we just never spoke again apart from the emails. And then from high school, there's like a couple of friends it's weird because those friends, I keep in touch in terms of like, they follow me on socials. We've organized maybe like 1 or 2 trips in the last like 10 years since leaving school to see each other. But it's definitely a case of like, especially friendships from school and primary school, your lives go like complete different directions because you're all there at one point doing one thing, and that's the point where like your life starts and like you end up leaving the country or you end up leaving that town and never coming back, and that's how it like creates a lot of distance and stuff. So those relationships have definitely changed, and I really like what you said about like you do actually have to just be intentional with the time, because I think if I reflect on how I've maintained my friendships, I am super like intentional with like, okay, well, let's do this trip, let's see each other, let's like spend time together, and then during that time, yeah, we'll catch up. But we could also, like for example, with some school friends a few years ago, we went like camping and hiking in Scotland, and that was fun because we're doing something together, but also we have that chance to also like catch up and chat, but we're also like actually making a physical memory. And I think that's how I really like to approach my friendships, because I always like frame, like maybe it's a toxic trait, but I'm always like, oh, let's go for a walk here, or let's like literally go on holiday. And it'll be like once a year that we do that holiday, But that's like that once a year that we're making a memory, maybe visiting a new place together, like seeing what life has done to us in the last year. um, and that's how I do it with like a couple of different friendships. So that's nice that you said that, because I was really thinking that I would like this terrible friend that doesn't reply to anyone. But actually, like, I definitely think I make effort in terms of that intentional time, and also like living life in forwards with people rather than like just perpetually like reflecting together, which I hate doing, by the way. And I also wanted to say, like, how do you think social media affects that? Because sometimes I think, like, it's not a great thought, but sometimes, especially if someone is really like shares a lot about their life online, or is constantly posting like updates about their life, and I'm not just talking about like creators, influencers, I'm talking about people who like just share a lot on their socials. Sometimes it removes the almost like the need to catch up. And I mean this in like not in a horrible way at all. I mean in the sense of like, if you're constantly like replying to stories and actually being quite active and touching base a lot on
Oh, so
socials.
you're actually basically communicating and pen paling a little bit via social
Yeah, that
media.
you never actually end up seeing each other. Or then when you do, it's like, okay, well, I know everything. So it's difficult.
Do you know what? That's really weird that you say that, because I've been in situations where like by virtue of being someone that posts a lot online, people will assume that they know a lot what's going on. But I think with my friends, like there are certain big milestones that I post about online, for example, previously, like moving home, that I didn't necessarily tell them and that they like directly, but they also knew that there was a lot going on behind that. So, like, basically, there's a lot of stuff that happened that I didn't post online that only they would know had I like caught up with them. And so when I came to talk to them about it, there'd be loads more that I shared with them that wasn't online, if that makes sense. So I feel like that, yeah, there's two ways that it can go if you're someone that's very active online on social media and you kind of post in your life, and then your friends are maybe seeing that and kind of just living life through the lens of your social media and what you're posting on there. But I don't know. I feel like there's also people though that I'm friends with purely on social media, and I by this I mean like because of the distance, I've never even like met them before. Like maybe they live in another country. So there's people like that that I connect with solely because social media exists, and I'm just like virtual friends with them. I've not actually met them in person. And for those people, it is strictly like social media is the level at which I know them kind of thing as well, or what they tell me in DMs and stuff, and if we like have a deeper conversation. But that's the level it goes to. But with my friends that I'm a bit closer to by proximity and like the people I was talking about before, those are the friends that were like, if I'd catch up with them, they wouldn't necessarily still know they'll know roughly what's going on in my life because I post a lot of my life, and anyone that does post a lot of their life online will kind of feel that too, is that their friends don't necessarily need to ask. Well, they know what questions to ask because they kind of already know what's going on in the background. So sometimes it helps because it's like they will bring stuff up, yeah, be like, oh, how did that go? Like what was going on there? And like, it'll be a way for them to kind of still know what's going on in my life as it's happening, but they'll just get the real tea and they'll get like what's actually been going on behind the scenes, that other people wouldn't know. So there's still a layer to it. I think that people, even if your friends are following you on social media, you're not gonna really air out absolutely every detail of your life, whether you're an influencer or whether you're someone just private that just posts because you like to post. I feel like at any level, you don't really share that level of detail that you probably would in a catch up with your friends. Well, at least I don't. I don't know what could be said for other people, because I know a lot of people use private stories as a way to do that, as in they will really go in on their close friends' stories and like share the details. So maybe in that scenario, you'd probably then sit with your friends later and be like, I actually have nothing to tell you because you saw my close friend's story. So maybe in those situations, it might be a bit different. Do you have a close friend? Like, do you feel like you talk to people enough online in a close way, like in DMs, or in a way where if you like then met up with them or like try to catch up on your life, you feel like they would already know everything?
No, definitely not. I don't know if that was obvious.
I was thinking, surely not.
Yeah, it's like I barely have the time to WhatsApp people rather than
Yeah,
DM people.
true,
But
true.
I just had that thought because of social media and the way we overshare as a culture and like our way, like the fact that like if you think about 20 years ago, when you saw someone, you literally hadn't seen them for like a month. And you have no idea what's going on in their life because there's no social media. So it's like, tell me everything. Whereas now we're kind of like, oh, I see you went to Japan and I see you got a promotion. I saw you like did this, like what else? And then but then I guess that encourages the whole like, oh, let's have a catch up that's purely based on like highlight reels rather than like, okay, well, let's talk about the fact that I couldn't get out of bed for 3 days because I was working or something like that, you know? And like, that's quite, I feel like that's definitely a different layer to friendship, and probably different people bring that ability out of you to be able to talk like that. But I just feel like social media almost like helps you just glaze over these like highlight moments, and it kind of maybe helps you avoid like building a deeper layer to your friendship sometimes.
Okay, guys, that's all we have time for in this episode. But if you want to hear more about friendships and maintaining them in your 20s, we have plenty more to discuss over in part 2. So definitely go check that out. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a thumbs up if you did enjoy this part of our little friendship series. And definitely go and give us a rating over on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. And we'll be back next week with part 2. So we'll love you and leave you. Bye, guys.